Echoes of Aeridor. Episode 1, Whispers of Shadow. The Age of Silence was ending. For generations, the tales of the celestial wars and the sundering were mere legends whispered by hearth fires across the continent of Aeridor. The gods, benevolent and malevolent alike, had withdrawn from the world, leaving mortals to forge their own destinies in an era of relative peace. But peace is a fragile thing, easily shattered. In the borderlands near the blighted Shadowfen marshes, unease festered like a hidden wound. Livestock vanished in the night, travelers disappeared on lonely roads, and strange, chilling whispers were carried on winds that blew from the corrupted swamps. The wise felt a tremor in the fabric of reality, a discordant note in the song of existence, but few dared to name the fear that was taking root, the return of shadow, the stirring of forgotten malice. In the unassuming town of Oakhaven, Kaelen tried to forget the man he once was. Once a decorated knight captain of the Argentis Guard, betrayal and disgrace had driven him to the fringes of civilization. His gleaming armor replaced with boiled leather, his oath sword traded for anonymity. He worked odd jobs, kept his head down, and tried to ignore the gnawing emptiness where duty and honor used to reside. Yet even here, the encroaching darkness could not be entirely ignored. He saw the fear in the eyes of the townsfolk, heard the hushed rumors, and felt the familiar prickle of vigilance on his skin, a sense honed by years of service that refused to dull completely. He was sharpening his blade, a task both mundane and preparatory, when the first scream tore through the fragile peace of the afternoon. From the direction of the Shadowfen, they poured forth, twisted mockeries of life, creatures of nightmare given form. Goblins, yes, but infused with a malevolent energy that chilled the blood, their eyes burning with unnatural red light. They were the Umbral, the foot soldiers of the encroaching shadow. Panic erupted. Kaelen reacted on instinct, the years of training surging back. He bellowed orders, rallying the few capable villagers, his sword a flickering arc of steel in the growing twilight. He cut down one creature, then another, the familiar weight of combat both horrifying and strangely grounding. But they were too many. Hope began to dwindle as the Umbral pressed their assault, their guttural cries echoing the rising despair. Just as Kaelen feared they would be overwhelmed, chaos took a different turn. A young woman stumbled into the square, seemingly fleeing the attack, her eyes wide with terror. As an Umbral goblin lunged at her, she cried out, throwing up her hands. Raw, untamed arcane energy exploded outwards, blasting the creature and two others near it into charred fragments. The blast was uncontrolled, wild, narrowly missing Kaelen himself. The woman, Lyra, stared at her trembling hands, horrified by the power she clearly couldn't command. Simultaneously, near the well, a stout dwarf shielded a crying child from a falling burning beam. Borin Stonehand, a traveling stonemason searching for rumored ancestral quarries, felt a warmth spread through him, an echo of ancient hymns and prayers he barely understood. A faint golden light flickered around him, deflecting the blow. He gripped his mason's hammer, feeling an unfamiliar strength, a connection to something long forgotten by his people. Driven back by the unexpected magical surge, the resilience of the defenders led by Kaelen, and perhaps Borin's nascent holy light, the remaining Umbral creatures screeched and melted back towards the swamp as quickly as they had appeared. Silence descended, broken only by the crackle of flames and the cries of the wounded. Kaelen, Lyra, and Borin found themselves standing near each other, survivors drawn together by the shared ordeal. Lyra was shaking, avoiding eye contact, ashamed of her volatile power. Borin looked perplexed, rubbing his chest where the warmth had faded. Kaelen surveyed the devastation, his brief moment of purpose soured by the cost. Near the body of what looked like the raid's leader, something glinted. He knelt and carefully picked up a shard of obsidian, unnaturally cold and pulsing with a faint, dark energy. Etched onto its surface was a symbol, a coiled serpent devouring its own tail, wreathed in shadow. He had seen variations of it in forbidden texts during his knighthood studies, associated with Malkor, the shadow god, a deity of chaos and oblivion, long thought banished or destroyed. Kaelen showed the shard to Lyra and Borin. "This is no mere goblin raid," he said, his voice low and serious. "This mark, it signifies something ancient, something evil stirring again. Malcor." Lyra gasped, recognizing the name from fragmented warnings she'd overheard from fearful village elders in her travels. Borin frowned, the name resonating with half-remembered dwarven warnings about the Age of Shadow. "The Shadowfen boils," Borin rumbled, "and Oakhaven is only the beginning." Kaelen nodded grimly. His attempt at a quiet life was over. The instincts of the Knight Captain resurfaced, demanding action. He looked at the untrained sorceress and the dwarf who seemed touched by a forgotten divine spark. They were unlikely companions brought together by violence and strange powers, but they were all who stood against this immediate tide. "There are ruins north of here, Silverwatch Keep," Kaelen said, "an old Argentus outpost guarding the passes from the Shadowfen. If the Umbral are organized, they might be using it, or perhaps there are records there, clues to what's happening." Lyra looked terrified but nodded slowly. Borin hefted his hammer, his eyes surprisingly firm. "Lead the way, Knight." Video outro, music swells. Final shot of the three companions looking north towards distant, ominous mountains silhouetted against a darkening sky. The path ahead is fraught with peril, shadowed by the rise of an ancient evil. What dangers await Kaelen, Lyra, and Borin on the road to Silverwatch Keep? And are they truly the only ones who have noticed the whispers of shadow? Teaser for Episode 2, Quick Cuts. A hooded figure, Lyra, watching the companions from the trees with a drawn bow. A massive, gentle-looking barbarian, Grok, roaring in defiance against shadowy figures. Kaelen facing off against a cloaked rider on a dark steed. Lyra struggling to control a surge of magic. The companions looking at a rough map. Next time on Echoes of Aeridor. New faces emerge from the shadows, alliances are forged in danger, and the journey to Silverwatch reveals the enemy is closer than they think. Don't miss Episode 2. Click here to watch the next episode, and be sure to subscribe to the channel for more Echoes of Aeridor.